Hey, Devil May Cry fans, this is Chris Bolts, and I'm coming in with a look at someone's video. Now, I normally do not respond to someone else's video or anything like that, but I felt like I wanted to go ahead and respond to this particular video. It's from a channel, Lore with Blazer. It's a small and upcoming channel. He's got 19 subscribers, 317 views. Netflix Devil May Cry Season 2 was beyond amazing. Now, you know I absolutely disagree with that based on my own review of Season 2 of Netflix's Devil May Cry. Let me just get something out of the way real quick right now. You are free to like whatever it is that you want to like. If you like Devil May Cry Season 2, fine. You like Devil May Cry Season 2. However, I started watching his video and I'm like thinking to myself, this guy says he knows the lore and knows the canon of Devil May Cry, yet he somehow comes back by saying that he finds Season 2 to be beyond amazing. And I'm just kind of puzzled by that. So I wanted to go ahead and react to his video and just give my thoughts about it. But before I do get into the content, do make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get off into this video.
Welcome back to the Lore with Blazer channel, where we talk about anything fictional. And as of right now, I just finished watching Season 2 of Netflix Devil May Cry, and I gotta say, it's really good. Now I just want to say that I am indeed a hardcore Devil May Cry fan. I've played all the games, read all the novels, and listened to the CD drama. And yes, Devil May Cry does have a CD drama. I think it's free on YouTube, so you can look that up. Oh yeah, and I also read all of the manga, including the comic book.
Okay, so like I said, this guy is a hardcore Devil May Cry fan, and I've been wanting to go back and looking at getting some of these manga and some of the novelizations. If you are wanting to go down that rabbit hole, you better be prepared to pay a pretty penny. I looked up one of the volumes of Devil May Cry on Amazon, and someone wanted $800. Like, whoa! And then I saw it used on eBay, the same volume, and they want $80. So you are going to be paying out the nose if you want to go down this rabbit hole of trying to get caught up on the Devil May Cry lore and mythos. But again, like I said, he said he's a hardcore fan. Let's go ahead and keep continuing.
I think the comic book was a prequel to DMC 1 when Dante meets Trish, if I remember correctly, but that's for another video. Now, despite me enjoying Season 1 of Netflix Devil May Cry, many people didn't seem to enjoy it all that much, and for good reasons. Now, Season 1 did have some flaws, but despite that, for me, I enjoyed it nonetheless, and I did made a video talking about it, which I'll leave a link for if you guys want to go check it out. From what I can understand about Season 1, most of the hatred from it comes from the fact that many fans didn't get the faithful adaptation they were hoping for. Well, despite that, the Steam sales of all Devil May Cry related games went up. Meaning, for non-Devil May Cry fans, the series was so interesting that they decided to get the games and play it for themselves. And hey, if this is how it
I wouldn't really go ahead and call that a causation or anything like that. Devil May Cry games always sell, and they are almost always on sale. I myself just picked up the entire pack on Steam, even though I own Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, 4, the DMC, and Devil May Cry 5 on consoles. I decided to go ahead and pick them up again, so I own them again. So to sit there and say that these increase in sales is tied to the series itself, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I will say that there probably was a small increase in sales, but not to the extent of which people were really just running out saying, hey, we want to go ahead and do this because we saw Devil May Cry. And then when they go and get these games, they're going to play them, and then they're going to come back and say, well, wait a minute, what we saw on Netflix is not the same thing that we're getting in the games. So some people are going to be in for a surprise when they do that.
It gets new people into this franchise, by all means. And the fact that this show was greenlit for Season 3 actually means that more people liked this than the internet let on.
This season, it was always going to be greenlit for a third season. In fact, I think they probably greenlit Seasons 2 and 3 at the same time. Let's go ahead and take a look and see that. Hold on one moment. Okay, so according to this article right here from MP First, it says that they had sources that says that it has been renewed for a third season. However, we go later in the article, it says while we still await official confirmation from Netflix regarding a third season, fans won't have to hold out much longer for their next dose of demon hunting action. So we don't know if it has been greenlit. I will err on the side of possibility and say that this will be renewed for a third season. It'll be kind of interesting to see where that particular season goes. If Adi Shankar is following the game logic, the first season should revolve around Devil May Cry 3, and then the second season revolved around Devil May Cry 2. So the next one, the third season, should probably just revolve around Dante, and they introduce Trish to the mix. We'll see once it officially gets announced. And when it officially gets announced, I will definitely be covering that. But let's go ahead and go back over here to Lore with Blazer and continue looking at his video.
But despite that, Season 2 was beyond amazing for me, and definitely an improvement compared to Season 1. And it goes to show that the showrunners were definitely listening to the fans' complaint and tried their best to fix most of the issues that were present in Season 1. For starters, Lady doesn't curse as much as she used to, like she's some kind of edgy teenager, which...
Now, for me, my problem with Lady wasn't the fact that she was just cussing up a storm, even though that was a problem in and of itself. My problem is the fact that she just appeared too damn much in Season 1. Like, you shouldn't even be in the majority of that series. But there she was everywhere. And that problem was not fixed in Season 2. In fact, they turned it up and amped it up. Pretty much Lady appears all throughout the entire Season 2. So I don't know what he's referring to when they said that they looked at, or the directors and the producers took in fan complaints and fixed everything. I think they amped everything up to 11 with regards to the complaints. They amped up the appearance of Lady. They lowered the appearances of Dante to be by himself or to be the main character in his own show. They amped up the immigration allegory of this stuff. They tried to make the demons even more sympathetic. They did all kinds of weird stuff that should not have been in Devil May Cry. So I don't see where he comes off saying that. But again, that's his view and everything like that. Let's go ahead and keep on going.
Which is definitely an improvement to her character if you ask me. I mean, she definitely does, but it's not that much to the point that it bothers you.
And then there's the fact that she has girl boss plot armor. We all saw the scene where she was getting eviscerated in the sky by the CM secretary, and then she got dropped 100 feet. Now that's my number, but let's just be honest. She was way up in the sky when she was let go. It doesn't even matter if she was up in the sky 20 feet in the air. She was let go. She crashed through the glass and then landed on a statue. And when you see her face, it looks like she's dead, only to come back in the next episode to see that she's being sewn and patched up together by some machine. Saying, with Arya saying, this is the wonders of Darkcom technology. Come on now.
Another thing that I think was improved upon, in my opinion, would be the pacing of the show, along with how they wanted their characters to be presented throughout the story and how much focus they get. Unlike Season 1, where Lady seemed to be the main primary focus throughout the entire season. This time, the
let me let him finish.
show definitely wants you to have a better understanding for the characters that they present, and not just the main characters such as Dante, Lady, and Virgil, but also the side characters and even the villains.
No, there I disagree. Dante was a side character in his own show. They focused much more on Lady and on Virgil. Hell, they even focused more on Arius over Dante. They were the primary drivers of this show, and there's just Dante just being carried along for the ride. He's being held up by all the other characters. There's never a really strong point in Devil May Cry Season 2 where Dante really got to show off his skills. Well, let's be a little bit more clear here. There were two instances when he got to show off his skills by himself, and that was when he got the ebony and ivory guns and when he had to fire off that rocket. Those were the only two times where Dante was acting like Dante. Outside of that, Every other scene, he had to be carried. He had to be carried by Virgil in the fight scenes between the two. He had to be carried by Lady and their action sequences and then the romance sequence. I wonder if he's going to talk about that. And he had to be carried by Arius in his confrontation with Arius. So I don't see where this particular development that he's talking about rears itself for these characters in this season.
The show does a good job letting you understand their motivations and their goals on what they want to do. Speaking of villains, it seems like this time Arius is the main antagonist for Season 2, and I gotta say, they did an amazing job with him. In Devil May Cry 2, I never really took Arius all that seriously as a villain, but in the Netflix series, he really comes out in a whole new light. He was an okayish villain in DMC 2, despite DMC 2 having a reputation for being the worst game in the franchise. The one thing I like about the Netflix version of Arius is that he had a presence and he had charisma. He had the talk and he had the power to back it up, and it was just well put together as a character. Every scene of him in the series was just mesmerizing to watch, and I would say that they did an even better job with him than they did with the White Rabbit.
When it comes to Arius, he was okay. He was okay. He didn't come off as cartoonish like he does in the game, and I will agree with him that he is a better villain than the White Rabbit. I don't even know why the White Rabbit even existed. I know, well, we know why from Season 2 and everything, overall why, but I'm just thinking, I don't know why they created him to begin with. If they're following the games, there was a perfect villain in Devil May Cry 3 for Dante to go ahead and face off against. Hell, that Virgil should have been in the first season more than so than the second season. But that's another thing about all of this, about all the mishmashedness of this season. They just threw together 3 different timelines within the Devil May Cry universe, or the games at least. Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3. They just mishmashed it all together and then vomited out something and gave it to us and said, hey, here's Season 2. But as a villain himself, Arius, he was fine. He was fine. He's not the most compelling villain that's ever graced the screen or anything like that. We've had better compelling villains, but were his scenes mesmerizing? No, they really were not.
And Graham McTavish, the voice actor of Arius in this series, did a really amazing job bringing this character to life. I should also say that he was also the voice actor of the Netflix Castlevania series Dracula, and that was one of my favorite performances done by him. Oh, and another thing that I should definitely speak about is the music. And oh man, the song choices, I have to say, it is beautiful. They even have a new original song called See You in Hell that was performed by none other than Papa Roach. And
now, that right there, no, I hated every musical choice. I hated hearing all that 90s rock music in Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry has some of the best music in a video game series. They could be using all those soundtracks. They could be making custom soundtracks. But no, they took the easy way out and just used 90s rock music. I didn't care for any of it whatsoever. Every time I heard some of the music, it just took me out. And some of the sound mixing for this series was just way off. I forgot which episode it was. Maybe it was episode 3 or 4, where the music just exceeded the sounding of the voice actors and the action going on behind it. It just sounded so off-putting. So I completely disagree. I wish they would have done more custom music tracks as opposed to relying upon 90s music. It just reminded me of James Gunn with all of his nonsense associated with his movies, where he loves to keep playing 80s music. We're getting ready to see this nonsense play out with Supergirl, but he did it through all the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He did it with some of the scenes in James Gunn's Superman, or as Nerdrotic like to say, Superman's James Gunn. Playing this modern music, or rather vintage music, as opposed to just creating custom themes and custom soundtrack to go along with this stuff. I really wish they would have just not done that.
Man, that song was the most amazing thing I've ever listened to. It's literally still stuck in my head, and I would even say that it's better than Afterlife from season 1. That's how amazing that song is. The music choice for this season was definitely beyond amazing, to the point it gives you the early 2000 rock vibes, which is one of the main things that make Devil May Cry so special. The show definitely knows how to make every fight scene feels like a very well put together AMV, to the point that it just touches your emotions somewhere. For one of Virgil's fight scenes, they literally played Bodies by Drowning Pool, and that just unlocked a core memory in my brain. I literally got up screaming because it was such a long time since I heard that song, and it was so beautiful. Now the voice acting in this series is beyond stellar, with two of the best English dubbed voice actors returning to reprise their roles from season 1, with John Young Bosch returning as Dante and Robbie Damon as Virgil. And although it's not Ruben Langdon and
John Young Bosch voices Nero in the games, and he's voicing this Dante, and you know what? I think he also voices Ichigo for Bleach. That voice is fine for younger characters. I don't know how old Dante is supposed to be in this particular series. It sounds like he's supposed to be in his early to mid 20s. They could have gotten someone with a little better voice than Donnie Young Bosch. I mean, his performance was fine, but it didn't grate on my ears. Probably would have preferred to have Alex Lay play his part, or Alex Lee, or however you say his last name. Alex Lee probably would have done a better job for Dante, and he should have also voiced Virgil. But again, I wish they would have the voice. I wonder how they're going to handle that when it comes to Nero. If they somehow get to a season 4 and Nero gets introduced, assuming that they don't introduce Nero in season 3, which would be completely off the wall bonkers, because that means that there would have to be a time jump of several years, or better yet, they would have to explain how Nero was able to come into the world. I know he's got that sword. At what point in time he did such a thing to go ahead and get a woman pregnant, so that Nero would be of age to where he can interact with both Virgil and Dante. Well, they've already jacked up the entire timeline and the lore for Devil May Cry with these 2 insipid seasons. So we can't put it beyond 80 Shankar to make up all kinds of bullshit to make it work.
And Southworth, the performance from these two voice actors really did bring their characters to life. Virgil took me a while to get used to, mainly because of the high-pitched voice that he normally has. But it was a stellar performance nonetheless from Robbie Damon, and I'm looking forward to season 3 to see more. We even have Scout Taylor Compton coming back to reprise her role as Lady. And due to the fact that Kevin Conroy passed away, they had to change his voice actor to someone else for Vice President Baines. In season 2, he is now being portrayed by Ian James Corlett, who you may know to be the first English dub voice actor for Goku, and is currently voicing Mr. Fantastic in the Marvel Rivals video game. We even have voice actors like Keith David voicing a new character that's called Lucan, and even Ray Chase, another legendary English dub voice actor, voicing none other than Mundus. And we also got our first animated look of none other than the legendary Nell Goldstein, and she's voiced by none other than legendary voice actress Tara Strong, who you may know for voicing most of your favorite childhood characters such as Raven from Teen Titan, Timmy Turner from Very Odd Parents, Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony, and many, many more. Now, in terms of story, the main focus theme of Devil May Cry Season 2.
Now, I will say this, in my review, I called her strong, independent woman boss. Okay, now I wish they would have done a better job of explaining this character right here, because she only gets shown, for, twice? First in season 2, she's given the guns Ebony and Ivory to Dante. Again, we don't really get an explanation of why that happens, but it is what it is. And then in the last episode, she's seen again, and she's consoling, was it Mary or a lady that she was consoling? And it's like she just appears and then she's not there anymore. She doesn't really make have any type of major appearance throughout the entire series or anything like that. So they didn't do a really good job explaining this. I called her strong, independent, don't need no man, woman engineer. But if this is Nell Goldstein is canonical, and she is a woman. So I have to go ahead and make that kind of adjustment on my other video, on my video review of that. But they didn't really give a good explanation as to this character. But let's keep on going.
Parents, Twilight Sparkle from My Little Pony, and many, many more. Now, in terms of story, the main focus theme of Devil May Cry Season 2 is the relationship between Dante and Virgil. And in typical Devil May Cry fashion, instead of the two of them talking out their issues, they instead try their best to put a sword in each other's chests. There's also some funny moments and interaction between these two, mainly with Dante saying some corny joke or doing something and Virgil getting annoyed by him. But the interaction between these two are just fun to watch overall. Another thing that I like is how the show goes more in depth with the relationship between the Sons of Sparta and their mother.
No, they're known as the Sons of Ava. They're not, and they explicitly say that, so they don't call themselves the Sons of Sparta because, hey, because Sparta is not there. So we're only the Sons of Ava. That's not missed on anybody that's watching the show, the importance of saying that they're their mother's sons and not their father's sons. Give me a break. And as for the relationship between the two, I felt that it was more forced than anything that actually built between these two throughout the entire show. But again, different strokes for different folks and everything.
Something that the original DMC doesn't really touch upon that much, but it's a fun little addition nonetheless to see what Ava's relationship with her sons are like. The main plot of Season 2 is similar to that of DMC 2, with Arius wants to gather up all of the Arcana in order to revive Argasax the Chaos, who was the former Demon King before Mundus in the Demon World, or the Makai World as the Netflix series likes to call it. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of the name, because in Season 1 I used to think the Makai only refers to this species of demon who were similar to that of humans, but now it turns out every demon's a Makai. And the world is called the Makai World, instead of the Demon World. That's kind of one of the changes I'm not really a big fan of. But
yeah, that's because they needed to do that because they needed an immigration allegory. They needed to change that so that you can feel sympathy for the demons. You can feel sympathy for the devil. Oh, they're just trying to escape their own land, you see. They're just trying to come to our land just for a better life. Why are you trying to keep them out? How dare you mistreat these guys? You're no better than the demons. Give me a break.
But anyway, I'm just gonna roll with it. Alright, I had to edit this part into the video after finishing it, so it's kinda a little bit low quality compared to the rest of it. But I just learned something after doing some research. So, as of right now, I just learned that the word Makai literally translates to Demon World. It's literally the Japanese translation of Demon World. And it's funny because I never knew this. They're literally saying Demon World, but it's in another language. I guess you learn new things every day, and it makes me wonder if I'm the only one who just realized this.
No, you're probably not. But even still. Because I thought it was a made-up word, but if it's the Japanese translation for Demon World, why not just call it Demon World? Just leave it Demon World. No, again, like I said, it needed to be changed so that they can force their immigration allegory. We got to be sympathetic to these Makaians. You don't want to say demons. That's just how dare you call them demons? They're Makaians. Miss me with that.
Man, I feel like an idiot. Anyway, back to the video. We also learned more about Mundus and his relationship with Argasax, and it gave us more detail on what the relationship between him and Sparta was like before Sparta betrayed him for the human world. And I just gotta say, I'm a huge fan of Sparta's design. The dude just looks really, really freaking cool in literally every scenes that he's in. He's just aura farming in everything that he's in right now. Heck, even his human design looks really cool. We also follow the story of how Virgil was brainwashed by Mundus, tricking him that Argisax and his worshippers were the one that killed and attacked his mother. And by the end of the series, Virgil then realized that Mundus was lying to him all along in order to use him as a weapon, and he turned against him. It's not really a bad writing per se, but we're more used to Virgil being the power-hungry motivational maniac that he normally is.
And that he's not actually have any association with Mundus. He is not serving as the underling of Mundus in any of the games or anything like that. Once again, this is a change that was made for the purpose of this show. I don't understand why these directors, these Hollywood, Netflix, whatever, they get these properties and then they go about just changing everything about it. They'll give you enough to say, well, this does have your favorite characters off in there, and it does have the relationship between those characters, but we're going to do things our way. That rarely pans out well for everything in the long run. The good news about Devil May Cry that I can say is that any sign of wokeness is not there, but the political agenda definitely is there.
And if the writers play their cards right, this could be the first step of making Virgil the...
Although some people might try to argue and say that the introduction of the new character Lucan and his annoying granddaughter probably is a form of DEI wokeness, I wouldn't agree with that.
Power-obsessed loving maniac that we all know and love. Now, when it comes to the biggest thing that happens this season, I have to talk about the romance between Dante and Lady. To me, this has to be the biggest surprise out of everything this season because I was not expecting this at all. Now, for Dante to be in a romantic relationship, I don't really have a problem with that because he's been in several romantic relationships in the novels, to the point that it became a running gag that he has terrible luck with women after breaking up with them. And many Devil May Cry fans have been shipping Dante and Lady for a long time. I'm not really that kind of fan though. I'm more of a Dante x Lucia type of fan because in the DMC light novel, we kinda learned that Lucia has romantic feelings for Dante. And I think it would have been a good contrast with him and Virgil when it comes to romantic relationship, with Virgil being the human-demon hybrid that rejected his human side, falling in love with a human woman, while Dante being the demon-human hybrid who rejected his demonic side, falling in love with a demon woman. Or artificial demon in this case. Now overall...
Or better yet, you don't do any of this shipping bullshit. Especially when it's completely forced. At the end of season 1, Lady jams a needle right into Dante's neck and paralyzes him and takes him off to Darkon. We saw at the beginning of season 2, he's been put on ice. So she betrays him right off the bat. This entire season, there is no type of romantic tension between these two characters. It's just completely forced. When he saves her from being run over by the truck, she's got those googly eyes and she just kisses him. Now, if a man did that to a woman, would that be allowed? I'm just saying. It's just forced and unnecessary. And there was no reason to ship these characters whatsoever. It's just, it begs the question, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Well, I don't really have an issue with the Dante x Lady relationship in this series. As a matter of fact, I think it's kind of adorable and the two of them do indeed have chemistry together. But my main...
No, they don't. They don't really have any good chemistry together.
Issue with it is that I think it's a little bit too rushed. For me, the romance just came out of nowhere and I don't really know how to react to this, and I'm like, okay, so this is what's happening now in the series. And
like I said in my review, the only thing that this confirms is that Lady is not a lesbian. And we normally see that when these guys draw these types of characters, these female characters where they're all fembutch, all swole, still got a nice feminine body, but got that angry scowl feminist look on their face, they're usually a lesbian. But here we have Lady being very feminine, going in for getting the hots for Dante. That's the only positive in this entire thing.
I'll just have to roll with it. Overall, from season 3 going forward, I hope the romantic chemistry between Dante and Lady will progress into something even more. Who knows, maybe this would lead into Nero getting a quarter demon human hybrid cousin from his dear old Uncle Dante.
And that would be breaking all kinds of lore within the Devil May Cry universe. Because as it stands right now, Dante don't have no kids. I said it that way intentionally. The only person that has a kid here is Nero, or not Nero, but Virgil, whose son is Nero. So this would be all kinds of lore breaking. I know some people probably mentioned the line at the end of Devil May Cry 1 where Dante tells Mundus that if you see my son, tell him I said hi. That was a tongue-in-cheek comment. That was not confirmation that he had a son. That was just a tongue-in-cheek joke that Dante made because Mundus fought his father Sparta. Then Mundus fought Dante. Dante is the son of Sparta. And Dante's basically saying that, hey, when I have a son and you try to escape and I'm not around, you're going to be fighting my son and he's going to keep you trapped there just like I have. So no, at this point in time, Dante does not have a son.
I mean, this version of Dante seems willing to be a fun dad. I mean, just look at them taking care of their adopted daughter this season. So adorable. And although this season was an improvement compared to season 1,
that was the second worst part. Well, no, third worst. The first worst part, that entire episode 2 was just worthless. And then of course, episode 1, where Dante was basically bookends, a frozen bookend for the episode. And then this episode with this little girl running around, and oh my God, don't even get me started on her shooting that CM secretary that was giving Lady all kinds of trouble.
there are still some flaws. Some of the dialogues do feel a little bit forced and sometimes a little bit unnecessary. Season 1 did have that issue as well, but it's not really that much in Season 2. After all, Lady doesn't curse as much as she used to. But similar to Season 1, they do have a tendency to over-explain certain things instead of just showing it. But at least this time, it's not really over the top. A dialogue that I wasn't really a big fan of in this season was when Dante said, "No, we're the son of Ava," when Argasac called him and Virgil the sons of Sparta. It kind of felt like he was rejecting his demonic heritage when
Exactly. He's that line again, like I mentioned earlier in this critique. Them saying they're the sons of Ava as opposed to the sons of Sparta are both they both said it. Virgil and Dante rejecting their father, rejecting their heritage, and I am not down with that. We don't know why Sparta is not around. I don't think they've ever really explained where he's currently at, but the fact of the matter is he sacrificed himself to keep the demon world from coming into existence with the human world. He did something that was very tragic and heroic, and most heroic acts are tragic. So for them to go in there and to reject that and to say they're the sons of Ava, that's them being disrespectful to their heritage. And again, it's not lost on people who are mindful of this kind of stuff. You're sitting there rejecting your father for your mother. Come on, get out of here.
A couple minutes ago, Virgil was literally telling him to embrace it. Probably would have been better if they said something like, "We're also the sons of Ava," but that's just me. Another issue for me would probably be Virgil's Devil Trigger. It's not really bad per se because I do like Dante's Devil Trigger design when it was introduced in Season 1, but I really didn't like the fact they made Virgil's Devil Trigger just a color swapped of it just being blue. Due to Dante and Virgil being twin brothers, their Devil Trigger are sort of bound to look very, very similar to one another, but in the original games from DMC 3 and DMC 5 when it comes to Sin Devil Trigger, there's always this unique differences between the two that makes them easy to tell apart instead of just saying, "Hey, that red one is Dante and that blue one is Virgil." Especially when it comes to Virgil because he had a sword sheath on his arm for the Yamato, and I think that was pretty cool. But the Netflix series sort of changes it with their sword transforming with them when they turn into Devil Trigger. Another thing I began to notice about this season is that it loves to reference Devil May Cry 5 a lot. They did sort of reference DMC Reboot Dante by making Dante in a flashback wear something similar to DMC Reboot's Dante jacket, and they also do reference some songs from DMC Free. They also did reference the iconic Dante riding a rocket from DMC Free, which is a really nice touch, and it really looks fresh and amazing in my opinion. But it's mainly DMC 5 being referenced to the point that Virgil used quotes and even fighting moves from the game itself. But I did get a good chuckle over the plastic chair meme when Jester took it out of nowhere. That was pretty funny in my opinion. I do like the ending of the series with Dante and Virgil having a final confrontation with one another similar to that of Devil May Cry 3. It was really beautiful to watch and very well choreographed fight. I'll give them that. And I do like the ending of the series giving you a sense of wanting more. Personally for me, I do think the hate that this show gets is over-exaggerated.
It's not over-exaggerated. It's not over-exaggerated at all. The hate that this show gets is well-deserved because it does not follow anything associated with what we come to expect from Devil May Cry. Like, it was just a mishmash of a whole bunch of things. There's a whole bunch of member berries and all this stuff that they just put into the series. And like I said, this guy is a hardcore Devil May Cry fan, so he was able to identify more of these things than I have. But as he was listing them off, I'm like, dude, all they're doing is just doing member berries. Member, as opposed to creating an experience that is faithful to the Devil May Cry series. And like I said, all the fights that Dante was in, he was getting his ass whooped. The only time he really won the fights was when he was teaming up with others. It's like this guy couldn't even carry, he was not even allowed to carry his own show. Lady outshines him, Virgil outshines him, Arius outshines him, Mundus outshines him, Argosax outshines him. Like, this is supposed to be his show. He is supposed to be the main protagonist. And earlier Lord of the Blazers said main characters Dante and Lady. No, Lady is not the main character in Devil May Cry. The main character is Dante. Hell, even in Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 5, you eventually go back to playing as Dante because it's his story. It's not any of these other characters' stories. And so, no, the hate is not over-exaggerated for Devil May Cry. Many fans of the series, of the game series, are rightfully pissed off that we keep getting this stuff. He referenced Castlevania, Graham McTavish's voice in Dracula. Dracula was an excellent enemy in Castlevania. Not that Richter Belmont bullshit. That Richter Belmont bullshit can get the fuck out of here. We're talking about with Trevor Belmont, and they took some liberties with some of the characters there, but they stayed true to the time period, and for the most part, they stayed true to the lore of Castlevania, and they added some of the stuff here and there, but it stayed within the world and the ethos and the lore and the canon of Castlevania. It worked. It absolutely worked, and the final fight between Trevor Belmont and the Reaper was phenomenal. I haven't seen anything like that in this series in Devil May Cry Season 2 or Season 1. Now, some people like to sit there and say that the kaiju fight between Argosax and Mundus was pretty cool. It's like, it's fine. It's fine. Let's let him go ahead and finish out.
In my opinion, despite the flaws of the show, it does capture some of the main things that I do love about Devil May Cry. The music, the action, and even the story, despite its flaws, is very entertaining in its own right. Not to mention that this show is bringing in new fans, and if more people like the franchise, Capcom will probably give us a remake or a Devil May Cry 6 video game. Now, criticism is something that is always welcome no matter what show you are. After all, you need criticism in order to improve. And from Season 1 to Season 2, the show has indeed improved. But many hardcore Devil May Cry fans believe that this is the worst thing that has ever happened to the franchise, which in my opinion is not true. And that is nothing more than a simple exaggeration. I know the YouTube algorithm loves to recommend videos with people talking about how the show is terrible, sometimes even making people who've never even watched the series itself, whether they be non-Devil May Cry fans or Devil May Cry fans alike, decided that they didn't want to watch the show just because someone in a video said that it's terrible. instead of watching it for themselves and formulating their own opinion on it.
That's the entire purpose of people making these videos. You don't have an unlimited amount of time to do everything you want to do in life. You got to make choices. So some people go out there and they watch this stuff, and then their audience have come to trust their opinions. And when they watch the video, which is only a few minutes of their time, they say, okay, well, my favorite YouTuber here says that this is not good. I'm not going to waste my time. And some people will look at it and say, you know what? He may have some points, but I'm going to check it out myself anyway. That's how life works. We don't have a whole bunch of time out and to go in there and look at all these things. I watch a whole bunch of anime. I had to put my entire anime schedule on hold so I can watch Devil May Cry Season 2 in the course of 2 days. And I wish I can get those 2 days back. But man, I do not like this. I do not like the series whatsoever. When a season 3 comes out, I will definitely be there for the season 3. But I don't have any high hopes that season 3 will make any improvements over seasons 1 or season 2. Season 2 was not an improvement over season 1. Well, that's not true. The animation quality of Devil May Cry Season 2 is much better than the animation quality in Devil May Cry Season 1. It's probably because they got a bigger budget, and I will expect that Devil May Cry Season 3 will have better animation than Season 2 because they're going to get more money. But all the stuff that's been going on with Season 2, the overemphasis of Lady, this dumb nonsense, this shipping nonsense, that the pushing of Dante into the corner of his own show, he's a side character, the mismatching and member berry bullshit of the series, the need to try to make the political allegories in the series, which is completely absurd. The series itself and the games avoids politics completely. This is just a big giant mess. And then of course it doesn't even, other than the actions that Dante took when he got Ebony and Ivory, which by the way, he rarely fires in this he rarely fires in this series, and when he fires off the rocket, which was just a member berry, there were no real Dante actions in this thing. So to sit there and say that, well, they're not gonna go watch it for themselves, people don't have time for all of that stuff. They gravitate to people they trust and say, hey, I trust this guy's opinion. Sometimes I agree, sometimes I don't agree. Do I have enough time in my life to be able to watch 8 episodes? Each episode's averages about 35 minutes. And especially if I know that Devil May Cry, I'm a really big Devil May Cry fan, and I don't want to see the work bastardized by someone who purports to be a Devil May Cry fan. I never understood that type of criticism where people say, oh, well, you didn't watch it for yourself. Well, no, I watched your video and I watched your critique of it, and I watched all these other critiques. And I see more critiques that say Devil May Cry Season 2 is shitty than I do see that Devil May Cry Season 2 is good.
I do recommend that you watch the show all on your own and formulate your own opinions on it. Just because some YouTubers said that they didn't like it doesn't really mean that you have to follow along.
By the way, why does the logic not work in reverse? Just because a YouTuber says I like it doesn't mean you have to follow along. Why doesn't it work in the opposite direction? Why is it only in the frontward direction? Well, if that YouTuber says he doesn't like it, then you need to go ahead and dismiss his opinion and watch it yourself. Formulate your own opinion. But why not do the same thing? Well, that YouTuber said he likes it, so I'm going to dismiss his opinion and I'm not going to watch it because I'm a Devil May Cry fan and I don't trust that guy's opinion. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Just watch the show and enjoy it for yourself. And just because I said that it's the perfect thing that I ever watched doesn't mean you have to follow along with me either. And there's nothing wrong criticizing a show and pointing out its flaws. Just don't over-exaggerate things that aren't really true. Especially when you're going to use some of the strong points that makes the series so great and use it like it's some sort of flaw. Because this is definitely not the worst thing that has ever happened to the Devil May Cry franchise. I mean, more fans are coming into this franchise because of this series, and I am for one is excited for it. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Again, like I said, when they come into the franchise and they see that what they're playing in the games is something completely different from what they're watching on television, that is going to be a shock to the system. And I completely agree with them. Like I said at the beginning of this video, like whatever it is you want to like. If you like Devil May Cry Season 2, great. If you don't like Devil May Cry Season 2 like me, great. And he mentioned something about saying that don't try to use the strongest points of the show as some type of weakness. Well, what if people find those to be the weakest points of the show, or weakest points of the show? Pretty much everything he said, other than well, even on Arya's, everything he said I found to be weaknesses. Everything he said I found to be weaknesses. I didn't find anything that was very strong about this series that I can recommend. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say you should watch this because it's got great artwork. That would be disingenuous of me to go ahead and do. But again, if you guys want to watch this, go ahead and watch it. I don't recommend doing it. He recommends you do it. You guys come to your own conclusions about where it is that you want to go in there and if you want to watch it or not. But those are my thoughts on the issue. I will link his video in the description if you want to watch his video without my commentary. But make sure you do like, share, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. All that stuff really does help me out. And remember, this is Chris Bo signing off, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take it easy.